Third Rail Mercy, a New York gay love story. The heat was the kind that turned the tunnel air into soup, the kind that slicked your palms before you even touched the brake handle, and the radio cut through it like a switchblade. Train northbound, do not key by at Canal. Hold at the marker. Power requested down in section 14. Wait on my word. I was the A train northbound. 8 cars of summer sweat and last hop stories, rolling out of the chamber's curve with the tunnel whispering against the car sides. My name is Mateo Ruiz, 29, MTA train operator, overnight out of Pitkin Yard, the kind of guy who knows which rails sing at J Street and which ones complain near High Street. They pay me to make good decisions in boring minutes and better ones when the boring stops. Copy, hold, no key by at Canal, I answered. The PA smelled like dust and hot plastic. I eased the brake to a kiss, let the consist come down gentle, set the reverser to center like it was church. The voice came again, steady, unfamiliar, somehow already mine. Mateo, this is Caleb with Rapid Transit Response. Doors remain closed. I've got a smoke condition reported from the consist ahead in the interlocking. Do not move. Do not try to clear the signal. Power request is in. Third rail cut will be confirmed before we put people on a walkway. He didn't raise his voice. He lowered my heart rate. He said, do not like a gift. He said my name like a platform edge you could lean against. And that should have been enough. But the sizzling sound that sneaks through the tunnels when metal and heat argue made itself known under my seat, small but real. RCC, a northbound is stopped at Canal. Holding, I said into the cab radio. I'm getting that little sizzle under the shoe beam like dust burn. No odor yet. Affirmative A. Caleb's voice came back. That's brake dust cooking. We're watching the feed. Transit power's tagging out. You're good where you are. A second's pause, then. And Mateo, thanks for not trying to be a hero. He couldn't see me smile, but I smiled anyway. I've had a lifetime of practice swallowing adrenaline and pretending it's iced coffee. Nights like this try to make you hurry. The job is refusing to let them. I looked through the windshield. The tunnel ahead was a long throat. The little dwarfs, home signals, stood their red and green truths. My cab fans pushed warm air across my face. In the mirror, the passengers did what passengers do, took out their phones, rolled their eyes, told nobody in particular that New York was New York. A woman fanned herself with a LaGuardia envelope. A kid in a Knicks jersey fell asleep mid-complaint. But the truly shocking part hadn't arrived yet. And I could feel the night save it like dessert. Mateo. The radio again, softer now, like it had leaned closer. You're my anchor at Canal. I'm going to have you open local side doors only if we evacuate the train ahead onto your platform. Your job is a clear PA and a level head. I'll say when. He was close now. Rapid transit response meant boots in tunnels, gold vest, a bag with tools that stopped nights from becoming headlines. I could hear the echo of him. A little ceramic slap of footfalls on walkway, the clink of a car inspector's flashlight against a vest buckle. New York has a sound when someone competent walks toward you in trouble. The tunnel holds its breath. Copy, anchor, I said. The word settled into my chest like it had paid rent. I took the PA and fed them the line I've practiced. Ladies and gentlemen, we're being held at Canal Street while we sort out a train ahead. Please remain on board with doors closed. If we evacuate the other train to our platform, we will give you instructions. There is plenty of air. We will not move the train until it's safe. 2 different men said bro in 2 different ways. A woman near the front nodded like I'd told her a recipe. A guy with a backpack took a deep breath because I'd told him there was air, and he believed me because I believed me. Wait, don't miss this. Out of the corner of my eye, past the curve, I saw it, just a wash of light. Then smoke like someone erased a line and regretted it. The radio crackled again. Power cut confirmed, section 14, a new voice said, flat with importance. Blue light is up. Track is foul. All crews use protection. Mateo, Caleb again. Open local side doors on car 1 and car 2. Platform is clear by station agent. I have a field team with the other operator. We're bringing them up to you. You keep people. I'll keep rail. I keyed the door controls. The chime did its courtesy. The platform at Canal breathed like the city had snuck in a new lung. My station agent, Manny, looked at me with the face that says we've done this dance before and we'll do it again, and we don't need to rehearse. He had the safety cones already in his hands like he'd premonitioned them. He taped off over the escalator because the last thing anyone needs in a slow panic is a moving staircase. They came then, the passengers from the stuck A. Ahead, led by a conductor with a voice that could split atoms, flanked by a car inspector with a shorting hook slung over his shoulder like a medieval polearm. The conductor's flashlight made a little white river on the walkway. People came up a 6-foot ladder like they were leaving a party that wasn't fun anymore. Caleb was there, gold vest, helmet, calm stamped across his whole posture. He put one hand on the ladder, not in a way that saved anyone, in a way that taught the ladder how to be more ladder. You could tell he'd learned this tone somewhere that mattered, one at a time. Phones in pockets, left hand on rail, right hand on shoulder. Breathe, step to your right. Mind the gap you can't see. He reached the top with a woman in a sundress whose eyes were big and glassy. He looked at me then, just a glance, quick, like passing a baton you both knew the weight of. "You okay?" he asked. Quiet. The 2 words I'd come to want from him. The ones that made my answer the important part, not the weather. "I keep being," I said, because there wasn't time to find new language. He nodded. We moved people like a slow prayer. My platform speakers did their work. Walk toward the center of the platform. Do not lean over to film. If you're able, give space to those who aren't. My words got obeyed not because they were good, but because they were simple. That's the only trick in a tunnel. Then a ripple moved through the radio, the kind that makes your stomach look for work. Transit Power said, Section 14 de-energized, tagged, and verified. Be advised, backfeed risk from Section 13 if insulator at gap 1413 is compromised. Do not bridge over. The phrase backfeed puts teeth into a room. It means the third rail might pretend to be sleeping and then wake up hungry. Caleb to Power. Affirmative, he said. Blue lights are up at both ends. Protection in place. No bridging. We're fully foul between Canal and the home signal. Stay cold. He never raised his voice. He just made the air behave like it had been told its name, but the night wanted a bigger test. Mateo, he said, and my name hit a different nerve this time. I've got a man still in the first car of the disabled train, wheelchair user. We've got the platform ladder, but it's a tight angle. I need your platform gap fillers and 2 of your crew at the mid-platform. Station agent is en route with the portable ramp. 10-4, I said, and looked at Manny and didn't have to say anything. He disappeared in the way of station agents who've had exactly enough coffee and exactly enough experience. I hopped out of my cab. The air at track level was warmer and tasted older. The third rail coverboard sat like a sleeping dog with a sign on it you can't read. I stayed on the platform side because I like being a person who keeps promises. We turned my platform into a machine. Cones. Tape. Gap fillers like small bridges. The ramp like an intention. Caleb came up at the middle with the chairman. 50s, salt and pepper, sweat shining on his scalp, jaw clenched in the small act of refusing to cry. We got you, I told him. We're going to land this. I hate this, he said, which is the most honest prayer. Me too, I said, which is the answer that belongs to that prayer. One piece at a time. We did the choreography we learn in training and don't believe until we need it. 2 on each side, 3 in back, 1 to talk. The chair is lighter than fear if you divide it correctly. We landed him on the platform like an airplane that found its runway at the last second and never admits it was looking. The platform applauded. People do that in New York sometimes when we remember we're a village. The applause turned into phone cameras because it's the same muscle with different hands. I wanted to be angry and I wasn't. It was proof that breathing had resumed. But here's the part I didn't see coming. As the last of the evacuees cleared the ladder, a sharp, wrong light flickered down the track. It wasn't third rail. It was something closer, an arc at a shoe beam, a little blue bite of electricity as it remembered it exists. The radio burned in my palm. All crews, we saw a flash at car 1 shoe, came a car inspector's voice, clipped. Likely capacitor discharge. Everyone off the rail. Everyone on the walkway. No one touches metal that touches metal. RCC, confirm cold, Caleb said, and the gift in his voice vanished, replaced by iron you could structure a bridge with. Cold, said Power. That was a stored energy bleed. You're clear of new hazards. We still paused like it mattered that we were animals. Then we moved again. The disabled operator, Hernandez, I learned later, came up last, hands shaking, face like a man who'd done math under a pressure cooker. He looked at me and I looked at him, and the look did what words don't. You held, he said. You did too, I said. You did first. Mateo, Caleb said gently into my ear, and I realized he'd drifted closer like the tunnel itself had given him a pass. When we clear the last 10, I'm going down to inspect the shoe gear on the first car. Do not let anyone back near the edge. Do not let Instagram turn a night like this into content. I'll be 3 minutes. You got it. 3 minutes is nothing. 3 minutes holds a century. I watched him drop onto the walkway, step over the insulated board the way you step over a sleeping dog you love and don't trust. He moved with that combination I couldn't stop cataloging. Precise, efficient, as if each motion had been set out the night before so this body could inhabit it when called. Wait, don't miss this detail. He tapped the blue light phone with his knuckles as he passed. The little courtesy meant for me what it means in training. Communication is safety, safety is time, time is grace. RCC, he said into it. Caleb on rail, north of Canal, inspecting shoe gear on lead car. Mateo has the platform. We're blocked to the public. Affirmed, the RCC voice said. I didn't know her name, and I didn't need to. She sounded like the person who keeps the moon on. 3 minutes stretched to 4. I used the PA like a metronome. I made jokes at the speed of comfort. This is the part of the night where I confess I don't have any snacks. If you packed smart, make friends with roommates who look generous. We'll be moving once the people ahead are safe. A boy asked if the tunnel had rats. A woman told him the only rats were on Wall Street, and I laughed like I hadn't heard it before. A man asked if we were going to die, and the woman glared him into a different question. Manny patrolled like a shepherd with too many sheep, and for all the heat and all the sweat and all the smell of summer plus fear, the night had a skin over it now. You could touch it and it wouldn't break. Then the radio. Mateo! Caleb again, lighter. All clear. We're going to tie down the disabled consist and push it when power returns. You can close and hold. Do not move until I give you the release. We'll likely single track north until West 4th and cross you local. You good? I keep being, I said. Bring it, I closed. The doors thumped their private conversation. I looked into my mirror and found 100 tired faces and a dozen small smiles you only catch when you're being nosy. A man lifted his daughter to his chest and her head found the hollow it had been designed for. The air smelled like wet cotton and permission. The move came as a series of chess plays. Power returned in the section beyond. We got the signal for a slow roll. Manual switches at Canal clanked into place under the feet of men who still believe the physical world answers to steel. We inched north and then west, crossed local, and found the other tunnel like a backup lung. My consist hummed its relief. At West 4th, the platform was a different planet, cooler by 2 degrees, loud in a friendly way, the tile bands endless and smug. I held for dwell, then rolled. Above us somewhere, Houston Street cooked quietly. You'd think that's where the night would bow. But New York likes one more test. RCC to a northbound, the voice came, not Caleb's. We have a distressed passenger on your car 6, reported hyperventilating. Hold at 14th Street. Transit and EMS are en route. Do not depart until the patient is evaluated. Do not allow platform crowding at the mid-car. 14th, holding for EMS, car 6, I read back. RCC, can you tag Caleb to me? He's already on your platform, the voice said, and my chest did that little synchronized dive that certain voices ask it to perform. I slid into 14th Street and my mirrors handed me the night. A tight knot of people around car 6. That ring you always see when humans try to be helpful and become obstructive instead. I made the PA my translator. Folks in the middle of the train, I need a half-car length of space. If you're not helping, you are helping. By stepping back 2 full tiles. EMS is here. Give them room to work. The crowd obeyed like I'd collected their names earlier and promised to use them kindly. Caleb slid into view at the gap, vest unbuttoned, hands up in the universal language of I need your eyes. The man on the bench, mid-20s, skinny, eyes too wide, clutched his own shoulders like he could keep his chest from deciding to be a storm. Hey, Man, Caleb said, and the whole car leaned in like it could get a better copy of his tone. What's your name? Eli. Good name, Eli. I'm Caleb. I'm here. That's my whole job. You okay? Eli shook his head too hard, like a dog does when it's trying to shake off water that isn't there. He was breathing like a metronome set wrong. Caleb shaped his own breath into a model. In for 4. Hold for 2. Out for 6. Watch my hand. He held his palm high, fingers open, and moved it gently like he was teaching air how to behave. Eli followed, just enough to be called obeying. Diego to Caleb, a new voice said, and I blinked because for one hot second my brain thought Miami had slid north on a hinge. But this was Dylan, the EMS medic assigned to this sector, grim with kindness and already breaking open the bag for the oxygen. He nodded once to me. We know your job, and went to work. He's got air. He's got help, Caleb said softly. More for me than anyone. He reached up and, tiny motion, easy to miss, clicked one of my destination roll lights off and on, off and on. It's a stupid little thing I do too, a superstition for non-superstitious nights. Make the car notice it's still a car. Mateo, he said then, loud enough just for me. You okay? Like he didn't already know. Like he didn't already have a mountain to hold. Like making me say it would put another bolt into the night. I keep being, I said. And the grin he gave me was the first one he'd let himself share with anyone all night. It took 10 minutes to move Eli from storm to rain. That's how long the human body often needs when it's been convinced by its own muscles that it's dying. EMS guided him off at the front of the car where the platform could act like an aisle. The crowd turned back into a mass of people waiting to get home. I took my clearance and rolled into the rest of the night. By 207th Street, my consist was empty, and the rail sang the little tin song of an energized city calming down. I yarded the train. I did the paperwork you have to do to prove a night happened. I washed my hands for longer than necessary and watched the grease and salt swirl into the drain and felt like there was a metaphor there I didn't have time for. When I came out into the cool air behind the crew room, a gold vest leaned against a column like he'd been told to hold it up. The heat had backed off by 1 degree, which is how you know dawn is being negotiated somewhere above Harlem. Caleb lifted 2 paper cups in one hand. Tea or coffee? He asked. I made the wrong choice for both of us, probably. Tea, I said. Because I'm learning to listen to people who tell me the truth politely. We stood there, cups warm in our palms, the rail behind us humming a lullaby. He didn't talk for a full minute. I didn't either. Then he said, Where'd you learn to say do not like it was a thing that would keep people around? My abuela, I said. She could make no sound like an invitation to live. Also a lot of hours on this handle. I tapped the brake. You? My uncle, he said. He worked power for the concourse line in the 80s. He'd say, if you want a room to behave, tell it the one true thing you can prove in 12 words. And then he'd say, make sure it's boring. I laughed. The boring saves more lives than the dramatic. Every time, he said, and leaned his head against the column in a way that looked like a very private sigh. We didn't exchange numbers because this isn't a movie. We did something better. We wrote a rule, the way people who carry radios write rules on each other. When the heat advisories turn the city orange, he texts here. When the RCC looks thin and the tunnel smells like fatigue, I text on. He keeps a spare spacer in my go bag with a note that says, for the one who names it, because apparently New York has kids who name their inhalers too. I keep a Sharpie in his vest because labels are love at Oro 30. A week later, we had a flash flood in the Rutgers tube and learned new ways to say no to water. 2 weeks after that, a drunk tried to walk the catwalk at Delancey and found out the city keeps angels in vests. We had a signal failure at Hoyt that wanted to be art. We encouraged it to be ordinary. Every time I heard his voice say my name in a way that kept the room from breaking, my hands got more useful. On a slow night with the kind of breeze you forget New York owes you, we stood at the edge of Fort Tryon Park and watched the river pretend it had made better decisions. He wore a baseball cap with an embroidered bolt that only meant anything to the 5 of us who know which substations hum like old men. I touched the brim and he let me, which in our language is basically a vow. He leaned in then, forehead to mine for one beat. PG-13, consent-sized. with the distant Shake Shack sign pretending to bless us and a raccoon evaluating our worth. Cameras didn't care. The city didn't care. We did. We stepped back because the universe remembers to ring your phone right when you're honest. RCC for him. Crew dispatch for me, and the two of us answered at the same time and then laughed. Because of course. Sometimes the safest place in New York isn't behind glass or under a badge. Sometimes it's the inch between two people who do the same job at different heights of the system. A little slice of honest where instruction turns into comfort and a name turns into a handle you can hold on to when the train lurches. Sometimes it's a voice that says, "Do not at exactly the right moment," and a hand that doesn't try to turn you into a hero. It just lets you be useful and alive. The next heat wave will find us. The next brake dust will cook. The next backfeed warning will put a seam in a room. Some kid will ask about rats. Some man will ask if we're going to die. Someone will name their inhaler something brave. We'll anchor platforms and drop blue lights and make rooms into rooms with 10 boring words. He'll keep rails honest. I'll keep people honest. He'll ask, "You okay?" And I'll say, "I keep being." And we'll hold the night where it needs holding. Steady hands. Open doors, go.